present the draft strategic plan operational matrix. Okay.
Good evening. I have just a short series of comments I wanted to make about the matrix which is attached. And Michelle is going to help me by putting up highlights from the strategic plan. And I don't plan to spend a lot of time in each one individually, but I thought it'd be good for the public to see really where the focus is in this plan. So just to give a little background, if you recall, the last couple of years we've been working on the 2040 plan. And so from that, we created the strategic plan. And then from the strategic plan, I asked the council if they would give me, the council and mayor, if they would give me priorities. And the only reason that we asked you to do that is it's really important for us to be able to focus. We can't initiate everything in the first year because we would just slow everything down. So we asked you to identify your priorities, and then that helps us build a work plan. So in the next 3 years, our focus in the budget and where we spend our discretionary time is going to be on your priorities. So it's really important and it's really helpful. So we appreciate that every one of the council members and the mayor did provide us with that. And you'll notice there's quite a bit of overlap on the who identified the priorities and where we're going to spend our time. So one thing I wanted to say is that of the 76 items that are in the strategic plan, there were 26 individual items identified by the council. And we had 6 in housing. So that tells me that housing is really a top priority. I know the mayor has talked about it for several years. We've been engaged in different activities around housing, but I see this as really saying this is a top priority. But the council also recognizes that we still have a lot of work to do with infrastructure. So infrastructure still had, I think it was 3 priorities. The economy is another one that was a high priority, and so was the environment. So it's funny how if you're here long enough, things kind of change but come back. So the environment, I think, has sort of emerged as something that we haven't focused on, maybe 10 years ago, but we are now. The other thing is, I know that there's a lot of our arts fans in the audience, and that is something that we have heard probably the most on from any advocacy group, that this is really important. And it's important because it touches our economy, it touches our infrastructure, it touches our environment. So a lot of these are all interrelated. We just categorize them as what's easiest for us. One thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is where we go from here. So tonight, we're not asking you to really approve this document because you've already approved it. But I wanted to show you the priorities, and I wanted to specifically show the names so that people can see where there's alignment on this. As you know, we do use ad hoc committees, so maybe in future years there may be ad hoc committees that are created around this, and it's helpful to know which council member has said, this is a top priority for me. So after the meeting tonight, or let me step back a minute. The document that was attached includes all the strategies that were identified by the council for our strategic plan, and then we've highlighted those that are the priorities. But what we've also included are items that were initiated under the old strategic plan that we are working on, that we haven't completed. So those are in there, and then also some of the capital improvement projects that you've identified that we've started but maybe not finished. So it's a little bit broader than what was in the original strategic plan, but we see that as our 3-year action plan. And with council support, we will now build our budget and we will build our work programs around that. So tonight, after showing this to the public, what we will do then is start working internally in teams, and that's mostly how we process our work. And we're going to do a call out to employees to see if they would be interested in working on any of these, at least in the beginning as we map out what needs to be done. Some of them are really easy to focus because it maybe affects one specific department or it's maybe a construction project, but a lot of these are new initiatives where we need some brainstorming. So we're going to go to employees, ask them to help us identify projects that could occur under each one of these strategies and really try to make it an organizational effort to bring these things forward. And so when you see this now in the future, you'll see this operational matrix, and it will then have the layers. It will have the projects, it will have the tasks, it will identify the leadership, and that's where we will have a staff leader, but there may be a committee, there may be a board. It may be a sustainability effort where staff is just supporting there's something that they're doing. So there's a lot of work left to do, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then as we go through the budget process, we will try to put as much detail on the budget at this point as we can. A lot of these projects we just don't really have a feel for it yet, but we'll add that when we can. And then what we anticipate doing is coming back on a quarterly basis to say, here's where we're at, here's how we've made some progress. And the other thing I wanted to say is I think we don't have to say it all the time, but we do have some uncertainty with our budget. We are not sure exactly what's going to happen with property values. So this strategic plan may be heavy on studies if our budget doesn't work as well as we anticipate. And if something turns bad and if the Excel valuation goes down, we may focus on studies so that when things turn, we will have the studies, we can apply for grants, and as you know, that's how we've been very successful. That was the routine we went through back during the recession. We said we can't afford to do construction, but we can afford to do a study so that when we have more funding, we will initiate the project. So that's kind of a couple updates on that. So Michelle, if you wouldn't mind, let's just run through these real quickly. And Council President Hose, I don't know if you want to stop on each one to see if anybody wants to speak on it, or if you want to...
I think let's just move through them, and if somebody's got a question or wants to speak on something, go ahead and raise your hand. And okay. So
under housing, the first one is to encourage the reuse and renovation of existing buildings, upper floors, underutilized property for housing. So we've talked specifically, most recently, with downtown Main Street, because this is something that's important for them too. So I see this one having great potential for partnerships, and maybe downtown Main Street, maybe more than downtown Main Street. Number 5, reestablish the rental licensing program. Dan has been leading this effort. We've been getting some updates on legislation, working with our attorneys and bringing ordinance forward, so you will see some action on this one in 2019. And people who have made comments about this, we will have a lot of public engagement on this. We did the first time when we created this, and we will be having a series of public meetings, so there'll be lots of opportunity for people to weigh in on this. And I would hope that it would be both property owners and renters. Item number 6, work with community partners to develop a coordinated communication program or resource kit that informs renters, landlords, and new homeowners about their rights and responsibilities. I'm not sure who raised that issue, but we thought it was really important for all of our residents, whether you own your property or rent your property, to know all the laws, all the policies that apply to you. So this is a kit that we're working on. I see this as being a cooperative with our HRA.
And perhaps with the HRC, the Human Rights Commission as well.
Yeah, yep. Number 7, collaborate with a consultant and community partners on a long-term solution for residents who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. This was something we spent quite a bit of time talking about in our strategic planning. We don't know what the solution is, but we know we have people who are very interested in engaging with us on this concern.
Yeah, that's actually been a topic that we've talked about at the council over for at least 2 years, if not 3. So, yep.
Number 8, expand the housing trust fund so that we're able to pay for and reach the results we need through our other housing strategies. So in the 2016 strategic plan, we had as a goal to create a housing trust, and so now we're talking about expanding it. So to me, that's really exciting. In a pretty short period of time, we've established a housing trust fund, and we've been utilizing it. It's very positive.
And yeah, the TIF district will also help revitalize that even more. So I think we continue to leverage the assets we have.
Yeah. Number 9, create a successful system for aggressively promoting all available building sites that will attract development of a mixed housing option for all people. I think we've been making some progress on that with some of the apartments, but we've got a long way to go. Number 10, this is under the topic of the economy. Develop a strategy that addresses the economic impact associated with Prairie Island Nuclear Generating Station's potential licensing termination in 2033 and 2034. So this is probably our largest issue from a financial standpoint. We need to really figure out where we can find some stability with this issue.
Becky?
So with new information, I think that this is still a priority that we always need to be looking at this partnership with Excel and with Prairie Island Nuclear Generating Plant. It's an ongoing task, and I think that that's why we have that ongoing committee. In light of some of the other ones, this was sort of it's important, but it's perhaps not a priority because it's continuously going. So a little bit hesitant maybe to put it at the same level. I know that a lot of this work is sort of ongoing work. And also with establishing a community task force to develop internal and external steps for possible transition, I don't think that we're at that place right now where that's the necessary next step. So I'm actually sort of suggesting that I take my name off of this. While it's still important that we monitor it and maintain it and continue to have that partnership, the way that this particular goal is written, I think it doesn't rise to the surface of the things that we're talking about tonight.
I was going to mention that there's not enough places to put your name on things in this list. This is one of those things that I wish, obviously from my conversations this evening about my reports on various committees, something that I thought was important to continue. And so I agree it's ongoing and it's an ongoing issue. I also believe that we have residents raise the concern a lot, and whether or not whether or not it's happening immediately, I think there's a lot of concern in our community about the future of this plant. One of the reasons I raise the issue as much as I do is to try to alleviate some of that, if I can, if there's information I have that I think is relevant about where things might be headed. But I do believe that there's no hurt and very little impact in having a kind of a community task force at some level. So I do believe in it. I will follow Councilmember Norton's lead if she thinks it's something to hold off on. But I also think we do have a communications issue, and we need to kind of continuously talk to our community about the future, because it's a big issue.
Yep.
And I'll agree with that. I'll agree that I think that it is something, and I think the reason that I chose it is something that I hear from our residents, and I think it is really important. I think that we will continue to be working on it, and I appreciate that that communication maybe is the piece that we really need to improve on, and see where this takes us at the next step. Maybe perhaps towards the end of this year we'll have a better idea also, as we've heard more from Excel as well. So, but I agree that communication is a major component to this. Okay.
Number 11, produce a coordinated citywide economic development strategy that utilizes an asset-based approach to think creatively and build a successful direction for the future. And then there's several components that come under there. There again, we see the Port Authority and Dan being the lead on creating this plan. Number 13, revisit and update important area plans, including Downtown Action Plan and the Old West Main Street Master Plan. So the Old West Main Street Master Plan is relatively current, but Downtown Action Plan is several years old. So we do think we need to take a fresh look at that and see if there's anything we should do to update it, because some things have been accomplished. And then also just look at to make sure that we think it's really situated for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll agree that I think that this is an important one, and what Councilmember Brown just said is that some of these, it was hard to limit how many of them we put forward, and I bet that there's some overlap with some of these too. But updating some of these plans and creating those action items out of those plans, I think, is that next step too. Which ones are those, our low-hanging fruits, which ones we can accomplish using those plans.
So moving then to the environment, number 14, establish a climate action plan that encompasses specific ways our city can have an impact on the global issue. That's something that's never been in our strategic plan. I think it's really important. So I see us spending time with the Sustainability Commission trying to map out exactly what we could do for this effort.
And I'll add to, Kay, one of the things that I liked in your introduction was an opportunity to put some of these ideas forth to city staff from all departments and everywhere. And I'm really looking forward then to what our city employees see as opportunities. I bet that there's a lot of creativity and a lot of opportunities that they see that they could be doing. And I think that those voices could really come up in this area. Especially our new hires, I think, that are coming out of school and education with this in the forefront.
Right, yep. Number 15, create and implement a comprehensive waste management plan that will substantially reduce the amount of solid waste going into landfills and or incinerators, focusing on the following methods. And then there's 4 different items listed there. And I believe it was Councilmember Stinson who specifically said the composting is really a focus that we should be, or an area we should be focused on. Number 17, increase energy efficiency and decrease the city's carbon footprint with an emphasis on the following. Then there's 6 items listed, and number 6 was the item that one of the council members identified as a priority, and that was develop a transportation transition plan to move toward next-generation vehicles, including working towards an energy-efficient and low-carbon footprint fleet of city vehicles. And we know other cities have looked at that. We know other cities have done pilot programs, so it's time for us to spend some time on that issue also.
I just noticed there were 2 council members on that. Am I incorrect on that? Because earlier it had been reported as 1, but am I?
Well, I might not have had them all in at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
She didn't have mine, that's why I'm not as.
Okay.
I got in really, really late.
Sorry.
Well, I'm on that one.
Yeah. I know you. All right.
Moving ahead under land use and build environment, number 24, think creatively and support redevelopment projects that use land efficiently and embody accessibility, equity, sustainability, and walkability. And in this area, we have done a lot of work in cooperation with Live Healthy Red Wing through Michelle's leadership. I think we've made great progress where we look at projects from the lens of these items, the accessibility, equity, and sustainability. So I see us doing more good work in this area. Under transportation and getting around, number 31, assess, evaluate, and improve Red Wing's public transportation options, resources, and facilities for all ages and abilities. I think that's important. You know, we had the, well, they're still here, the Hiawatha Land Transportation people. They're a key partner in making this accomplishment. Under public safety, we had a couple items. Number 37, increase staff training and planning for all emergencies. We have done more of that probably in the last 5 years than we've done in a very long time. We tended to be more focused on nuclear events, but with Chief Pullman, we've really broadened that and looked at different types of emergency training. So we would like to continue doing that. Number 38, increase community outreach to improve residents' awareness and knowledge of how to prepare for a wide range of emergencies. I think that communication, now that we have a person who's really focused on community engagement, I think we can accomplish that. And then number 41, maintain quality equipment, facilities, and technology to meet the police and fire department's mission and to fulfill the needs of the community. So it's really important that, especially in public safety, we give our people safe equipment, the proper training so that they can do their jobs well. Under arts and culture, number 42, develop a Red Wing arts and culture plan. I know the mayor has been an advocate, and I think a couple of our council members have said this is really important. So, and I think there's some folks here tonight who would like to address this, but this is something the council identified as a priority.
I'll agree with this one as well.
Under infrastructure and utilities, we still have a aging system that needs a lot of investment. So number 46 is update and adopt the city's stormwater management plan. I don't know how often that should be updated, but I think we're overdue, so that's something that we should initiate. Number 48, continue to rehab storm sewer tunnels and line sanitary sewer pipes to maintain capacity and integrity. There again, that's one that we continue to work on, so it's good that it's a reminder as a priority. Number 50, continue to replace sanitary sewer, water main, and stormwater pipes during street reconstruction, and we've been doing a lot of that lately, so that's an ongoing commitment. Number 53, continue maintaining and upgrading our water treatment and wastewater treatment facilities to meet or exceed the required standards for water quality. You know, the good and the bad is that they continue to change that, so we have cleaner water, but it is an expensive process, so we have to continue to look at the impact on the city. Number 54, continue designing, constructing, and maintaining the water supply system infrastructure in coordination with sanitary sewer and stormwater system improvements. So the next section, how we'll act, is really a new section in our strategic plan. We didn't have this before, but we thought it was really important to tell people not only what we're going to do, but how we'll do it. So number 61 is establish creative ways for city government staff and elected leaders to meet and interact with the public. So putting that as a priority really means that we're going to continue to engage the public as best we can. And we've had a couple new advancements as far as how we communicate with employee, the city beat. We've done a lot of one-on-one short programs, informational programs on Channel 6. So I think we continue to do a better job, but we know we can always improve on that. Number 64, consistently evaluate and reassess the ways our city government makes information services accessible and transparent to all residents. Same sort of concept, but maybe a little different focus. And number 68, research and discuss potential programs or practices revolving around building stronger neighborhoods. We have not done a lot with neighborhoods. You know, there are cities, usually larger cities, who have more organized neighborhood programs, and we haven't done that here. I think it's something we should talk about and see if there's a role that we can play, maybe not to coordinate, but maybe to just to provide the tools or some resources to neighborhoods so they could become more organized. So that one I think is going to need some time.
And I'll add that I think that piggybacks really well with our housing trust fund. I think when you have neighborhood leaders, that their programs can come from those neighborhoods, and I think that that's a really good partnership with those two.
Oh, yeah.
And there wasn't a priority identified under who we are, but I want to point it out because I'm really particularly proud of this. The fact that the council spends time and identifies, 6 priorities that are about the culture shows me that the council realizes that not only are they providing services to the public, but they are a supervisor. They run an organization, and it's important for us to be a workplace that people want to work at. So the things that are listed here make sure that we have a strong organization that can attract great employees and keeps them trained for their tasks. So I just point that out because I do think that's a real compliment to the council that they've thought of that.
Yeah.
So I think under who we are, originally there was some item, because I know I mentioned it in my question to you about making a Council of Governments, and I don't necessarily see
Is that 69? Because I was going to say that just got missed.
Oh, did
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. No,
And then yours,
that's
I
a little
think, is number
different.
70. Is yours 70?
Did I miss one?
I just remember we discussed it at a point.
Do you remember which one it is?
60? 63, thank you. Why did I miss it there?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I had mentioned that I thought that was something that was simple and easy to do and not necessarily a huge cost, that I didn't understand why we wouldn't explore that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we did have a pretty lengthy discussion on that.
We did.
Yeah, at the workshop.
So, I mean,
Well,
it's,
we did on most of these,
yeah.
Yeah.
but then we asked you to prioritize.
Nobody put
We
their
had
name
a
on it.
lot, there was a
I
lot
put
of
my
good
name on
ones.
it. That's what I'm saying.
As a
Did
priority?
you have it on?
Yeah, I had
Oh.
my name on it, which
Oh, I'm
is,
sorry, I must have missed it.
so that was why I was a little surprised. that,
Okay.
It is. Evan, is your 69, is that the ombudsman position? Because I'd like to say that that's a high priority as well.
That is,
mine.
so, yeah, I support the idea of that. I didn't, again, that was too many things, too little check boxes.
I'd like to raise that to the surface though a little bit if I can, because I think that it's really timely and important, at least to begin the process of what will that look like, maybe sort of rolling out in phases of what that might look like.
Okay.
If you allow me
I
to add
agree.
a bonus priority, I would like to add my name to that.
So 63 and 69, then add those two?
Yeah.
And Ms. Maida?
Mayor.
Direct your attention to number 67 there. I know nobody chose that, but I think everybody likes this as a project going forward, and I'm hoping we can continue this. I think there's a lot of interest at the high school. I think we can get the administration to come along and partner with the City of Red Wing in moving this program forward. So certainly is. I think everybody chose their votes very carefully, and maybe this sort of slipped through the cracks, but hopefully we can get endorsement from the council tonight to continue work on 67.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for pointing it out.
Yep.
Okay, we do have some people who would like to speak on this tonight, if we could keep it brief, but I'm going to call up Michael Anderson first.
Hello.
Oh, I love it.
This is to remind me what I'm talking. I am Michael Anderson. This is a kilt. And I am the next door neighbor of Councilmember Bicey.
Well, thanks for being honest with us. No,
I have been harassing city councils for 30 years. And I expected some of the same tonight. And I have to tell you, you have completely blown me away. Because every item that you selected is one that I have to look at and say, my God, it's a visionary city council. I am not kidding you. I appreciate that so much. I came here prepared to argue with you about deleting item 42. You didn't do it, which leaves me with nothing to say, but as anyone who knows me here will tell you, that never stops Mike from talking. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I handed out these signs. Would everybody who took a sign that doesn't feel I'm a communist wave your
We gotta give them a round of applause. Thank you for making this a priority.
I'm here to tell you that we would, I'm speaking for them now,
Oh, boy.
This could get
we are
scary.
here to make arts and culture really pop in the next 3 years. And I personally, that means I'm only speaking for myself, would welcome the opportunity to work with city staff and show my ignorance and what small knowledge I've gained in the last 2 years, specifically studying the question of how arts and culture can contribute to a more peaceful, prosperous, inclusive, admirable society in a world that is increasingly facing divisiveness, conflict, and even war. And as a retired Army officer with 27 years in the military, I can tell you that war sucks. But it's not the only kind of violence you see in communities. Some of it is only in the head. We can change that. We all can change that. But we people in the arts are convinced that city citizens in general, and many people will agree with that, if an expansive enough definition of the arts is taken, the performing arts, the musical arts, the visual arts, public art in public spaces, performance arts. And there will be times when people will approach you and say, we really need some city support in this, or a line item in the budget. But people also tend to realize that when they work on things in common, when it's their idea, they gain credibility and support from their fellow citizens, and they tend not to ask so much for money as they do saying, we've had this much, and we can fundraise for more. But we need the taxpayers' help in doing something that's to the benefit of the entire city. So that's my vision. I'll stop talking. I will tell you I've been working on this for 2 years and have some ideas, none of which I'll explain tonight, but I am available at any time to answer questions for the council or to work with city staff on this project. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Aren't you supposed to clap?
Michael Anderson. Next up, I have, well, I actually have two names here, Tracy Holgan and Tracy Borchas. Gotcha. Okay, just checking. Kurt Gruhl.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you, my former student?
Don't start.
We had a good discussion about that before the council meeting.
No, yes. Yeah.
You were one of my
Well, I'm
favorite
here,
teachers.
as most of you probably know, I'm a great supporter of the arts here. And the latest project that I was involved in, which was something the city was involved in because of their contribution to the banners, the metal banners on Highway 61, which we continue to receive accolades for throughout the state and perhaps the country, you know. It's a unique installation. And we'd like to make Red Wing a unique place for the arts, for public art and culture. And I'm so happy that this was on your list and that it kind of made several of you selected it, because for me, the arts is what is so important to our development as a culture. And when I was in Singapore, the one thing that they admired about America most was the liberal arts, education, and applications that we had here. And I always remember that because they are so technologically oriented that they really admire us for that. So I congratulate you for having this on the agenda, and I'm hoping that it's one of your priorities for the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Art Kedden.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for opening this up tonight. Art Canyon, 1547 Woodland Drive.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a topic, as you know, is near and dear to a lot of our hearts, and we've worked hard the last years building an arts community in Red Wing. We're not the only ones to do it, but I think we do it better than most. A lot of the art projects and development has started at the grassroots level here, but there's a lot of organizations and individuals that have stepped up and really made it happen. There's never a shortage of good, vibrant ideas, particularly in the arts, the arts community. In fact, our problem is limiting our ideas to things that can be implemented. So we feel that this arts and culture initiative that you have in your plan, and thank you so much for putting it in there, will help the arts community in Red Wing to develop under a little bit more structured and organized way. Not all artists are structured and organized, but we get things done. So thank you very much for that, and I'm just here to put my voice to full support of the arts and culture initiative that you have. And by the way, it's important for every one of you to know that there's so many people out there willing to help you with this initiative. I know it's not easy. When you're looking at your priorities that you put up there, there's a lot of work to be done by a lot of people. And sometimes we say, well, there's just too much on our plate to get things done the way we'd like to. It's important for you to know that there's a lot of organizations, artists, and like-minded people out there in the arts that are ready and willing to help you put this together and make it happen. So again, thanks for doing that. That's all.
Thank you. Next up, Emily Foos. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. My name's Emily Foos. I'm the Executive Director at Red Wing Arts. I live at 1708 West 5th. I just want to take this opportunity on behalf of our board and our organization and the artists that we support to thank you as well for putting this on the strategic plan and also keeping it as a priority. I think we all know that there is an economic impact of arts and that that it has a ripple effect through multiple purposes in this community. I think I'm here to, again, express our gratitude, let you know that we are here to partner with the city and with the other arts organizations to help move this forward, and really look forward to where this can take the community. So thank you.
Thank you. And Stephanie Rogers.
My name is Stephanie Rogers. I live at 2000 Old West Main Street, and I am the director of the Anderson Center, and I'm also here to say thank you. I'm particularly impressed by the very broad scope of how you're defining arts and culture. I am here in Red Wing because I believe that the images we see, the songs we hear, the stories we tell ourselves, the food we eat, and so much more have a profound impact on how a community defines who belongs, whose voices are amplified, and what seems possible. And focusing on uplifting the best of every aspect of this community through multiple forms of creative expression will pay dividends throughout the community. So thank you for your leadership and for recognizing the power of narrative imagery and all of the different art forms.
Thank you. Alrighty, that was the last of the. Thank you all for showing up tonight too. Appreciate that. We always like public participation. Makes our jobs a lot easier. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this? That was everybody that signed up. So.
I'll say.
Oh.
Let's see what I did. Sorry.
Well, I'm Bonnie Schock. I'm the executive director of the Sheldon, and I live at 1008 South Park Street here in Red Wing. And I'll just say that thank you as well for acknowledging this and keeping it as a priority. The culture is how we differentiate. It's how we find identity. It's the ways in which a community can come together and understand itself and bond together. So it's incredibly important, and it ripples into every single area. So all the areas that are identified in the strategic plan, I think, are amplified and heightened through a strong foundation of arts and culture. So thank you very much.
Thank you. One last time. Anyone else? Come on up. Now's the time.
It's hard to turn down a chance at a microphone.
There you go.
Megan Shuey, 803 West 5th Street, and I'm the executive director of Downtown Main Street. And this is something that's very near and dear to our hearts because as the retail landscape changes in our downtowns, experience is becoming much more important, and we're really lucky that we have some retailers in our community that have made some really great experiences in their stores, like the Red Wing Shoe Museum and Blue Trading Company is an experience all in and of itself. And so one of the things that arts and culture does is it helps to broaden people's experience of our community. And there's a quote that I really, really like that says, the price of marketing is being unremarkable. So the price that you pay to market yourself is because you have to market yourself because you're unremarkable. Instead, what we hope is that word of mouth and the story of a community travels far and wide by itself. We don't have to spend money on that. We already do that. Red Wing already, and especially our downtown, is absolutely known for its beauty and its art that many people have gone before me to make happen. And so I'm very proud of this council for making that a priority, and for all the people behind me who are ready to get going on this and make it either their job or have committees and volunteers to make this happen, so that hopefully we can leverage any investment that you make either financially or with focus to make even broader. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that I thank you for all coming out and speaking in this way, at least as long as I've been paying attention, and probably I haven't been paying attention to, before I was on council, to a whole lot of the strategic planning process, but I don't ever remember seeing an outpouring like this. And I think what's important is what we need to realize, and what I think we were trying to say is that there's a commitment on our side of the fence too here. We really want this to be a community issue that's important to all of us for all the reasons you all raised, and we recognize that. And as part of the 2040 planning process, when I was on it, I really recognized there's a lot of things that can get done grassroots, but there's so much more you can leverage when you have all partners at the table. So we continue to believe, at least I certainly continue to believe, and that's why so many council members signed up on this issue, I think. So.
Becky?
I too wanted to thank you guys for coming out. One of the things that made me feel at home here in Red Wing was the grassroots, the passion, Mike, that you spoke of, that there's a huge group of doers in Red Wing in all sorts of different pockets. And I really appreciate how you guys find this passion and came here today and are willing to sort of do that grassroots work. And I look forward to seeing what this passion that you guys all brought today can do for our community with this. As Evan said, and as we have all said, I think up here, you're seeing a value and a commitment to this. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity here. Thank you.
Sean?
I'll echo. Thank you all again for coming out tonight and lending your support to this concept. I also want to thank all the people that turned up at all the meetings over the past 2 years that had all the ideas that emerged out of this whole plan, and the staff who helped orchestrate all of this and got the ideas through. We got a sense, I think, on what people were talking about the power of ideas and commitment that I hope, have unleashed in Red Wing to help make Red Wing just emerge as a great place to live and thrive as people, individuals, in a peaceful and productive manner. So thank you all so much for coming.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I appreciate everything you've done. And I want to award each of you an official arts and culture sign that you can read, complete with a Sherwin-Williams paint stick on the bottom.
I was wondering if those were tongue depressors or...
I was going to put super glue on them so that once you took it into your hands, you were excited against it. And
I love this.
I don't want the city engineer and Rick Mosco to feel like I'm against them. I'm just going to pass up.
Make sure he gets one.
I've known Rick for a long time. And I love engineering. Ron Roosevelt is the only guy who ever got me excited about walking through a sewer.
I have stories.
That was good. Already.